Good morning, fifth grade. Today we're going to start a new text. It's called My Familia. It was written by this boy, Victor Machuca, and he is talking about his family and his life as a child of a migrant worker. So before we get started, we want you to do some writing. It says, describe your family. What are they like? What traditions do you have that make your family special to you? And so when I'm thinking about my family and my traditions, I have a twin sister and an older sister, and they all live in Alabama. And one of my favorite family traditions is Thanksgiving. We all go to my uncle's house. We have a really big meal. And usually everyone hurries through the meal so that they can get to dessert because dessert's a really big deal in my family. So that's one of our traditions. We eat a lot of dessert. Okay, so silently write down what your family is like and what traditions you have. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the vocabulary. The whole group lesson focus today is how does Victor's personal experiences build upon and support the central ideas in the section's introduction. So today we're going to break down the ideas in the introduction, and then we're going to look for evidence throughout the text that support the ideas mentioned in the introduction. Our vocabulary words are obligation. That is when you are supposed to do something. And so we have a picture of, December 24th and this man holding, a Santa suit, and he's, telling Mrs. Claus, hey, like, I'm obligated to, go out tonight. But it kind of looks like she wants him to stay home. The second one is orchard, and that is a piece of land that's planted with fruit trees. And then the last one is elders, and that just refers to someone older than you. And so we have this older man, and he is, it looks like he's giving advice to younger people, so he is their elder. All right, we're going to start reading. I am going to skip the introduction because we are going to talk a lot about that in the whole group. And I'm going to start with the first paragraph that says, I came to California. All right, it says, I came to California from Cuernavaca, Morelos in Mexico. My parents both come from very big families. I have 23 aunts and uncles and 40 cousins, but my immediate family is small. There's my mother, father, and my sisters, Eliuth, who's 20, and Maria Cruz, who's 18. I'm 15. My father used to work in the fields in Mexico. He planted rice there. He works in the fields here, and when he can't find work, he does construction. My mother used to work here in El Tapio de Garlic, the garlic festival. But right now, she's working in a carrot cannery. Since my parents didn't always have a lot of work, they didn't want to have a lot of children. They wouldn't be able to support them. I'm close to my sisters and parents because they are my family and I have a right to be united with them. All right, and we're going to stop there and look at box 1. And we want to describe Victor. So if we go back in our text, we know he's from he lives in California, but he moved to California from Mexico. And he has 2 older sisters. So he moved to California from Mexico. He has 2 older sisters. And his parents are migrant farm workers. Silently write that down for 1A. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 1B. It says, why does he choose to share details about his family before he shares details about himself? And so we haven't really got into a lot of who he is or what he wants to do. He's really only talked about his family. And that lets me know that's probably because his family is very important to him. He didn't spend a lot of time telling us about himself because first he wanted to tell us about his family. And that lets us know his family is really important to him. Press 1 to pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. Next, we want to focus on the role that Victor's grandparents play in his life. And then we want to give an example about his mom's parents and about his dad's parents. So I'm at paragraph 2, and we're collecting evidence about Victor's grandparents. My relatives are close because of their friendship. Most of my father's relatives live in the same town in Mexico as we did. This is why we are closer to my father's family, like my grandparents. I respect them because they are older and because my parents have always shown me to respect them, like my father does. He remembers them a lot now as he's in the United States, and he sends them money when he has extra. When I lived there, we went to visit them. They always received us well. We would fish at a river near this house. The memory I have of them is whenever I fought with anyone, they told me that I had to fix the problem with the person I was fighting, that I shouldn't rely on them to solve it. I always remember that, and now if I have a problem, I work it out with the person and not my parents. Make sure you underline the sentence that says the memory I have of them. Underline that whole sentence right here. That's an important memory that we're going to come back to later. Okay, that was the memory about his dad's grandparents, and now let's keep reading to find out about his mom's grandparents. It says, I only saw my grandparents on my mother's side twice a year. I remember that if anything ever happened to me, they helped me. When we did go to visit them in Guerrero, I think I said it, we would ride on their donkey. Also, I would help them in their orchard planting things. I liked to learn from them, like digging a bowl around the plants to keep the water in. Their orchard had banana, mango, papaya, and plum trees. When they came to visit us, they would always bring us things like bread and their fruit and cariño. All my grandparents are important to me, but since we came to the United States, I don't see them much. All right, so when we're thinking about the role that Victor's grandparents play in his life, we know that his dad's parents, taught him, he remembers fishing with them, but they also taught him this lesson that if you have a problem with someone, go to the person first instead of, telling on them to your parents. And then with his mom's parents, he remembers riding to their house on a donkey and planting things in the orchard. But he also remembers that they helped him and they taught him new things. And so we're thinking about the role that Victor's grandparents play in his life. He remembers that they teach him and help him become a better person. They are helping him become a more mature adult. And so for number 2, we would say Victor's grandparents help him become a more mature, you could say young man, because he's a teenager. So they're helping him become a mature young man. And we have the evidence where his dad's parents told him if he had a problem with someone, he needed to solve it with the person. And his mom's parents, told him if anything ever happened to him, they would help him. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for number 3. I'm on page 3 or 4, page 3 or 4, the last paragraph. And we're looking for evidence for how has Christmas changed in his family. Now we only see my family in Mexico on long vacations. I like to visit them more, like my uncles and aunts. Every year we always celebrated Christmas with them at their house. There in Cuernavaca, we owned our house, and there was room for all our family. Here, it's too expensive to own a house, and we don't exchange presents or prepare a special meal like we did there. Underline that sentence. He's telling you how it's different. Here means the United States and California. They don't have their own house, they don't exchange presents, and they don't have a special meal like they did in Mexico. And he lets us know that's because they can't afford it in the United States like they could in Mexico. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for number 4. Okay, and he goes on to talk about more things about Christmas, but we're going to pick up on the next paragraph where it says, my family and I. And this time we're looking for evidence for why does Victor want to go to college. My family and I do things together here. They are just different things from what we did in Mexico. When we first moved here, we all worked together. We worked in the cebollitas, or green onions, field. We worked as a family because it's faster. We helped each other. One person pulls the onion out of the ground, the other person shakes it, another cleans it, and then one of us ties them up together. I think doing things like working together is important. It makes our family stronger. Sometimes we stay home and I help our father work on our car. We try to eat dinner together, and when my parents aren't working too late, we go to church together. But my favorite thing to do with them is go to the park to feed the ducks. My parents don't think I should work in the fields when I get older. They tell me that I shouldn't lose a career like a lot of people in the fields. They've always told me that some people get sick because of the work they do in the fields. I think that they tell me these things for my well-being, so I'll study and finish high school. They say it would be good to go to college. My mother always says she wants me to be a doctor. My father says that if I don't become a doctor, I should become an architect. Most of the time, I think I would like to be a doctor to save people who are sick or to try to help people in need. Sometimes, though, I think I'd like to become a lawyer. I would help people get their papers, and then people like my family and others I know could cross La Frontera or the border from Mexico legally instead of risking their lives crossing mountains. All right. If we go back in that paragraph, we know that he wants to go to college because he wants to be either a doctor or a lawyer. And if he wants to be a doctor because he wants to help people who are sick. And he wants to become a lawyer so that he can help people cross the border legally so they don't have to risk their lives. Press pause to write down your answer for 4A. And then for 4B, we want to know, what does this reveal about his character? So both of the jobs he mentioned involve helping people have a better life. And so that lets us know that he has compassion for people. He wants to help people have a better life. So we know that Victor is a compassionate person. And then the last thing you need to do is write your paragraph. Describe Victor's personal experience as the child of migrant workers. Please use your notes that you collected to help you.